Hello, hello, welcome to Quackalope, and today we're taking a look at a game that I have played on this channel before. That game is Not Tilian. Now, Not Tilian is a dice rolling and movement kind of strategy game. It's a solo or cooperative game, but primarily lends itself to a family of solo games called the Oniverse. In this game, I'm trying to roll dice, assign those dice to the Dark House, the Phantom, and the Nautilion, to wind my way across this path, collecting crew members along the way, and hopefully arriving here at the Abyss before the Phantom makes it to the Pleasant Isles and destroys everything. The difference with this gameplay compared to the other gameplay video I did is that this gameplay is going to include all 5 expansions, which means I'll probably lose. Maybe. Possibly. We'll see. So I'm going to go through very quickly and break down the expansions that you're seeing on the board here, and then we'll swing directly into the gameplay and you'll see how each one kind of impacts or affects the game as a whole. Now, if you own this game or you're thinking about getting this game, there's the base game that you're able to play, which is what my last video was, and then all of these expansions can be mixed or matched or changed in various ways to make them either more or less difficult. I'm kind of on the middle line right now. This is definitely going to be a more difficult version of the game because I have all 5 included. That being said, I did select a level B ship, which is kind of a level 2 out of 3 ship, so a little bit mid-range there. I didn't go as hard as possible. So the expansions I have included in this gameplay are going to include the Reef Tokens, the Mage Quarters, the Phantom's Ship, or the Harpoons, the Dark House card stack, or turn modifier, and the hero cards, or hero abilities. So I'll go ahead and break down exactly how I set up and what each one of these expansions does to the core game itself. We'll start here with the Reef Tokens. The Reef Tokens are placed 3 spaces away, starting here at the Pleasant Isles. What they do is they create a movement modifier or a obstacle for the Nautilion to deal with as you're moving along this track. The Phantom completely ignores the Reef Tokens. If he lands on them, he discards them just like he'd discard almost any other token. So, part of the strategy for my gameplay will be to get the Phantom to land on as many Reef Tokens as possible so that this section of the map becomes a lot easier for me to navigate. Now, at the start of my journey, if I land on a Reef Token, I must roll a single dice before I roll all of the other dice. When I roll that dice, I'm looking for 3 or more. If I roll 2 or below, I then don't get a turn. So the Phantom and the Dark House will both get to move on their turn, and I will basically lose an action in order to get past or get through the reefs. Now, the one modifier on this is that each one of these reefs have a number. So we have 9, 3, and 6. If I have a crew member in my Nautilian ship that matches a 9, 3, or 6, I get to add a single point value to my rolled die. So it makes it a little bit easier to navigate. So this 2 would have become a 3, and I would have been able to make it through that barrier. So it's important to pay attention to. The next expansion I want to point out is going to be the Mage Quarters over here. This is an entirely separate player board. It doesn't follow the air duct patterns that your regular ship does. So that means I can place tokens on this at any point I'd like as long as they match the corresponding symbol. And it adds A, B, and C tokens to the player board here. So there's more tiles to move across, and those tiles have to fill up the Mage Quarters. Now, the Mage Quarters also have a special ability. If I have a matching A1, 4B, or C7, I'm able to change the tides once per turn. So for each one of those groups I have matching, after I've rolled these dice, I can re-roll 1 die 1 time. So if you have the Mage Quarters full, there's a chance you'd be able to re-roll all the dice or one particular dice up to 3 different times, which is pretty powerful. That being said, it also creates another win condition or win barrier. In order to win the game with the Mage Quarters in play, the Nautilion must make it to the Abyss before the Phantom makes it to the Pleasant Isles, and I have to have all 3 mages on board, so A, B, and C. The additional crew member slots don't matter for this, they only matter for the additional mage changing the tides ability. The next expansion I want to point out is going to be the actual player board for the Phantom ship over here. The Phantom will start collecting harpoon men along its own journey, adding them to his gear grid every time he lands on them. This expansion did add extra tiles to the board. You can see them, they're kind of the orange tiles here, and those each contain 2 harpoons on them. Along with that, there are a few other crew members that include harpoons on their tiles as well. We have the 2, the 8, and the 5. You can see the little harpoon in the graphic there in the corner. If the Phantom lands on any of those harpoon tokens, they go onto his ship's board over here. When we meet in the middle, we have to calculate the amount of harpoons I've collected versus the amount of harpoons the Phantom has collected. This creates a middle of the game hazard and a possible lose condition. If the Phantom has more harpoon men than I do, by the middle of this game, when we intersect each other, I automatically lose. I never make it to the Abyss, and the Phantom has clear tides to pull into the Pleasant Isles. Along with that, if I survive the encounter, if the Phantom lands on any harpoon men after the encounter has happened, so after this player board's been used and no longer in effect, I have to discard a crew member for every harpoon token the Phantom lands on. So it benefits me largely to keep the Phantom away from these harpoon men and to land on as many as I'm able to so that he doesn't start peppering me with damage towards the very end of the game. The other two expansions are going to be these decks of cards here. I'll start here with the Dark House, and I'm going to start by just shuffling these up and we'll kind of see what we run into together. This is a stack of turn modifiers, and what I'll do is I'll lay out 5 of them here in front of me. The red ones are going to be negative modifiers. The blue ones typically are going to make the game a little bit more manageable or easy. So let's see. So I'm leaning towards the red. It's going to be a little bit harder than average. So what this means is that every turn, before I roll the dice and resolve the dice, meaning giving them to each one of the 3 actions, the Nautilion, the Phantom, and the Dark House, I'm actually going to move this token down this line of cards. Each one of these cards has a different effect or different impact on the flow of the game. Here at the start, take the token on which the Phantom ends its movement. The Phantom receives the token on which the Nautilion ends its movement. So on this, we actually swap the tokens we land on. Recover a token from the discard and place it in the reserve. So I get to pull a token from the discard pile up here near the duck and place it in my token reserve, which gives me basically a superpower. Discard 2 tokens from the reserve, then take 1 token from the discard and place it on your board. So this modifies my Changing the Tide superpower to actually pull someone back from the sea and place him up here on my board. If the dice you give to the Dark House is a 2, you must re-roll it. If the result is a 3 or 4, you must discard a token. A result of 1 or 2 has no effect. So that means that if I give the Dark House a 2, I have to take a gamble and re-roll it. So that means the only dice that's safe to assign the Dark House here is going to be a 1. The last card here says die value equals 3 or 4, discard 2 tokens instead of 1. So this one modifies and makes the consequences of giving the Dark House a 3 or a 4 a little bit worse. It actually doubles them. The last pile of cards we have here are going to be our hero abilities. Now, these are cards that allow our crew members to sacrifice themselves to do something incredible. I'll assign 3 of these, and I'll go ahead and flip them and see what they do. So 1, 2, and 3. These also modify the win condition for this game, so I'll set these over to the side just in case I need to access them again. But by the end of the game, when I make it to the Abyss, I need to have completed and used all of my face-up hero abilities. So here at the start, recover 2 tokens from the discard and place them in the reserve. Recover a crew token from the discard and place it on the Nautilion board. The token you discard to use this card must be different from the token you recover. And the last one here, recover a crew token from the path and place it on the Nautilion board. The token you discard to use this card must be different from the token you recover. So I have to sacrifice a token to do a hero action. Each one of these hero actions gives me a special modifier or ability, but I have to plan when I'm going to use them accordingly, safely. The last thing I want to point out before we actually swing into this game is going to be that I'm using the B ship here. The air duct pattern is going to be in play, and it's going to be a little bit more complicated than some of the easier ships. I really want to start off by landing on a 5 here, or at least having that be the first token I can add to my board, because the 5 is what branches off to all of these other air ducts. Whatever the case, let's go ahead and swing into this game, see if I'm able to survive and make it to the Abyss before the Phantom can take over. So I'll go over the win conditions one more time before I get started. I must make it to the Abyss before the Phantom makes it to the Pleasant Isles, surviving the showdown in the center stage of this board, and having a fully crewed ship and all 3 mage tokens, while still completing all 3 of my hero action cards. If any of those items fall through or I don't complete any of those goals, I'll lose this game. So I'll go ahead and start off the game. I roll 3 dice. And let's double check what our modifier is here. Take the token on which the Phantom ends its movement, and the Phantom receives the token on which the Nautilion ends its movement. I have a 2, 2, and a 4. So I could give myself a 4, but that would give the Phantom a 5. A 3 would give the Phantom a 3. I will give myself a 2. I will give the Phantom a 2. I will give the Dark House a 4. The reason I'm doing that is because I'd rather sacrifice one of my lucky charms, one of my seashells, than have the Phantom move that far forward that quickly. So I'll start by resolving the Dark House. I did give the Dark House a 4, so I have to get rid of one of my lucky charm tokens. I then resolve the Phantom, who moves 2, picking up the 2 harpoons, which I then get to add to my board. I then move the Nautilion 2, picking up a 3, which gets discarded because the Phantom can't use it. It doesn't have any harpoons on it. I move this down 1, recover a token from the discard, and place it in the reserve. I'll take that 3, I'll place it here in my reserve, and I'll go ahead and roll the dice again. 3, 3, and 4. That is not the best combination. I could re-roll. I'm able to re-roll all 3 of the dice. I'm able to turn the dice to a value of my choice, and I'm able to choose 2 tokens on the path and swap them. They need not be adjacent to each other. I really want a 2 here because I would like to pick up that 5 as early as possible. And I'd prefer the Phantom here got a 1 so that it wipes out. Well, a 1 or a 4 would be acceptable. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna spend 2 of my lucky charm tokens to change one of these dice to a 2, which I'm gonna assign to myself. Ooh, that's not good, actually. Because I will end up costing... Okay, I'm not gonna do that. I'm instead gonna spend 1 lucky charm token to roll 3 dice one more time. 1, 1, and 3. Could give the 1 here to the Phantom. I could give a 1 to myself, which would still give me a chance to pick up that 5 next turn, and it would give me another set of harpoons, which wouldn't be terrible. And I'd give the 3 here to the Dark House. I would lose a lucky charm token, but I would still have enough to take 1 from the board and place it on my board. So let's go ahead and try that. 1 here, 3 here. So I'll resolve the Dark House first. I lose a lucky charm token. I'll then resolve the Phantom, who moves 1 forward, consumes the 3, consumes the reef there, and then I move 1 forward, and I get to add another one of these to my board. I'll just go ahead and fill in another slot here. I can't utilize those slots right now anyway, so it makes sense for me to kind of fill them with harpoon men until I'm able to take advantage of them. And then we'll go ahead and roll again. I'll move the Dark House down 1, discard 2 tokens from the reserve, then take 1 token from the discard and place it on your board. So I will discard both of these to pick up the 3. The 3 is going to connect to the 5, and I'm hoping that I can assign myself a 1 and make it out of that reef easily. That's not what I wanted. So, and I have no ability to modify or re-roll at the moment. So I'm either giving myself a 4 or a 2. And here's the other negative. If I give the Dark House the 4, I'm gonna have to lose a token from my board because I don't have any more lucky charm tokens left. So I think the best option is to go ahead and sprint forward even a little bit farther. So I'll give myself the 4, the Phantom the 2, and the Dark House a 2. The reason I'm doing that is because I don't want to get stuck too far behind the Phantom, and I don't want the Phantom to go ahead and pick up those harpoons because that's going to make it harder for me to deal with him. So, oh, but he's going to get a harpoon here anyway. I'm going to swap these 2. I'm going to take a gamble, see if that works. We'll resolve the Dark House first. I don't lose a token because I assigned a 2. The Phantom will move forward 4 and go ahead and pick up a dual harpoon. Just gonna go here into his ship. I will move forward 2 and I will pick up the Sea Mage. And we'll cycle through again. If the die you give to the Dark House is a 2, you must re-roll it. If the result is a 3 or 4, you must discard a token. All right, let's roll. 2 1s and a 2. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go ahead and give the Dark House one of the 1s. I can give myself one of the 1s, or I can give myself the 2. I'll assign myself the 1, assign the Phantom here the 2. So I gave it a 1, I don't have to lose a token. Gave the Phantom a 2, which does get rid of another reef, which is gonna help me out. And I gave myself a 1, which means I get a 9, but the 9 can't go on my board because I don't have any air ducts available. So this is just gonna become a lucky charm for myself. Go ahead and pick up the dice and cycle this one more time. If the dice value is a 3 or a 4, I must discard 2 tokens instead of 1. I cannot give this guy a 3 or a 4 this turn. There's no way that can happen. And it didn't. I will go ahead and assign him the 1, and then it's a matter of giving myself a 4 or giving the Phantom a 1. I will go ahead and assign myself the 4 because I can get out of that reef a little bit easier. I will give the Phantom the 1 to slow him down a touch. Over here, I didn't give him a 3 or a 4. Don't have to worry about it. The Phantom moves forward 1, consuming that 9 token, and I move forward 4, landing on the B, which does give me another mage, which is helpful, and trying to get out of that reef. So let's go ahead and resolve that reef. I have a 3 crew member, so I get to add 1 to my roll, 2, which equals 3 because I add 1 to my roll, which means I do get to get out of this reef, which means I get to roll all 3 one more time, and this cycles back over here to the beginning. Take the token on which the Phantom ends its movement. The Phantom receives the token on which you end your movement. So this could be crucial. 1, 1, and a 3. 3 would give a 9. A 1 would give an 8. Neither of those actually help me out. For the Phantom, a 3 would put me here on the 2. A 1 would give the Phantom a 2, which would add 1 to its crew member. We'll go ahead and do this. 1. I'll try to move forward a little bit faster. And 1 here. So the Dark House resolves, I don't discard a token. The Phantom moves forward. I receive the 8, but I can't play it on my board. I go ahead and move 3 forward, coming here to the reef. The Phantom's gonna receive the 2, and because the 2 has a harpoon on it, it's gonna enter his crew quarters immediately, and I have to roll to see if I can get out of this reef. I'm looking for a 3 or better. That's a 4, that is a 3 or better. I do pull out of the reef this turn. Go ahead and roll again, go down, recover a token from the discard, and place it in my reserve. 3, 1, 1. A 1 would give me an A, which would fill up my crew quarters. A 3 would come down here and consume. I'm gonna lose a token this turn. I think that's the best play. So I'm gonna come here, give the Dark House a 3, Phantom a 1, me a 1. Dark House resolves, I lose 1 token. Phantom resolves, he's gonna go ahead and consume this reef and that 2. And then I resolve, and I'm gonna pull 1 stop forward and go ahead and finish off my mage quarters. So I'm doing okay up here in the mage. The trick is gonna be able to actually fill out my crew by the end of the game. So that's the end of that. We'll go ahead and pull up these tokens again, move this down. I get to discard 2 tokens and receive 1 from the pile over here. The question is, what tokens are available? A 3, a 7, a 2, and a 9. I think that 7 is going to be valuable, so I'll go ahead and pull that onto my board. Let's roll and see what we're doing. That's a 1, 1, and a 4. A 4 would put me here at the 8, which is still a token I can't use. The 1 would give me a 7, which is not really what I was looking for, considering I just got 1. The 4 would put him here at a 4 or on a 9. I think we've discarded a lot of the 9s already as well, which is a little concerning. Well, I'm going to go ahead and push forward a little bit farther. So I'll assign myself the 4, Phantom the 1, the Dark House the 1. I don't discard a token because I assign the Dark House a 1. Phantom moves forward 1, consuming another 9 token. And I move forward 4, consuming the 8, which I can't use, still can't play that on my board. Pick up my tokens again, cycle this down one more time. If the die I give to the Dark House is a 2, I must re-roll it. So I have a 1 here. Let's see what my options are. 3, 1, or 2. I think the 2 is the best thing to give here. I'm going to go ahead and give myself the 3, which lets me fill in the 5 slot, which is what I'm looking for anyway, and I'll give the Dark House a 1. I don't lose a token because I gave the Dark House a 1. The Phantom moves forward 2, destroying this reef and this number 7. And I go ahead and move forward 3, picking up the 5 and another harpoon, which is good news for me because I'm going to use those soon. Go ahead and collect these dice again, and let's move the Dark House one more down. This is the turn where I cannot give the Dark House a value of a 3 or a 4 because I'll lose 2 tokens, which is way too much at this point in the game. Roll these dice, 4, 1, and 2. So I can pick up a 1 token here. But that would mean I need to give the Phantom a 4. One of us needs to get a 4. The 3 token doesn't benefit me. The 1 token doesn't benefit me. So I'm giving myself the 2, giving the Dark House a 1, and the Phantom is going to go ahead and take a 4. So the Dark House resolves. I don't lose any tokens. The Phantom's going to move forward 4, which is going to give him another harpoon on his board there. And I'm going to move forward 2, which is going to give me a 1, which I can go ahead and place on my ship. I'm slowly starting to fill out my crew quarters. This isn't going horribly bad. I just need to, well, I just need to get the right dice rolls and make the right moves, and I'll win. What are the odds of that? Go ahead and cycle this to the front. Take the token on which the Phantom ends its movement, and the Phantom receives my token. So let's see what we can do here. Roll these dice. 3, 1, and a 3. So another 5 doesn't benefit me. A 1 doesn't benefit me. Really, any of these won't benefit me, but getting rid of this reef would help. I could pay a token to try to cycle these again. Let's do that. I'm gonna go ahead and pay a token and try to cycle these dice again. I'm really looking for a couple of 2s. That's not a couple of 2s. Ooh, I'm in trouble. That's bad news. I got rid of one of my Lucky Charm tokens, and I still have to assign one to the Dark House. So, I could go all the way to 1, which isn't a token that I need. Could go all the way... Okay, that's what we're gonna have to do. So I'm giving the Phantom a 4, giving the Nautilion a 3, and the Dark House a 3. I must lose a token. I will lose one of the harpoons from my crew quarters. The Phantom then will move 4, collecting a harpoon, but I get to add that to my ship, and I move 4, and the Phantom gets to discard this 1. And we are very, very close to having a showdown, and I am not very close to having my ship full. So let's go ahead and roll these dice and see where we are. We'll move this down. I get to recover 1 token and place it in my reserve. 1, 1, and 2. I could get rid of the reefs there by moving the Phantom 1. I could pick up another harpoon for myself with either of these, which means I could go ahead and discard a harpoon to do a special action. I think that might be the best option. So I will assign the 1 here, the 2 here, and the 1 here. And I'm gonna go ahead and remove one of my harpoons, because I think, well, what are the numbers? 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, the numbers are actually not in my favor. So I can't do that. I cannot add another token to my reserve. I could sacrifice some of my other tokens if there was an opportunity. Like, I've got a lot of these mages in front, so I'm gonna go ahead and sacrifice the A to pull 2 tokens from the discard and place them here in my reserve. So I've finished that one. And I'm not gonna mess with these other 2 quite yet. Resolve the Dark House. I don't lose a token because I did give him a value of 1. The Phantom moves 1 forward, getting rid of this Reef, getting rid of this 9. I move 2 forward, picking up another Harpoon crew token and adding it to my board. And we are about to have a showdown because there's only 1 token in front of us. So go ahead and cycle these dice. 2, 2, 2. Oh, and this has to move down. Discard 2 tokens from the reserve and then take 1 token from the discard and place it on your board. I think it would make sense to go ahead and fill up something that isn't readily available ahead of me. A 6. A 6 would be beneficial if there are any here. All of them might be. There aren't any 6s. A 2 possibly? I have a 2 ahead of me, but a 2 would give me another Harpoon, which I wouldn't mind having. Or the 8. The 8 would give me a wider branch. That's what I'm gonna do. We will add an 8 to my board. We will go ahead and assign the dice. 2 for the Phantom, 2 for the Nautilion, 2 for the Dark House. The Dark House resolves. I don't have to discard a token. The Phantom resolves, moving 2 forward and actually stopping right in front of me. These dice are done. We'll start off from our current positions. We basically just flip. We don't land on anything this turn. And now we have our showdown. So we're gonna add up our Harpoons and see who wins. I have 6, 7, 8 Harpoons total. The Phantom over here has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have just enough to go ahead and wipe out the Phantom ship. I remove these Harpoons from my board as well. I have survived the middle encounter. Now it's just a matter of getting my crew quarters filled up before the Phantom reaches the Pleasant Isles and going ahead and using these 2 hero actions. So we'll roll the dice, we'll resolve them, we'll see what happens. If the die I give to the Dark House is a 2, I must re-roll it. Well, I can give the Dark House a 1, which means I don't risk losing any tokens. I don't want the Phantom to land on either of those Harpoons because that's gonna cost me a token. And I will go ahead and give myself the 2. Oh no, I'm gonna switch this. That's what I'm gonna do. Because I want that 6. I've got to fill up my crew quarters. I have no option. That's what I've got to be focused on. Dark House resolves. I re-roll this dice. Come on. 1. That's good for me. I don't lose a special token. The Phantom resolves. 1, 2, 3, landing on the 7 here, which goes into the discard pile. I go ahead and resolve, moving 1 forward, landing on the 6, and adding it to my board. This cycles down. I cannot give the Dark House a value of 3 or 4 this turn. Like I've said in the past, that would be way too expensive. 3, 2, and 1. I can move myself 3 forward, getting that A. I want the Phantom to more or less move as slow as possible, and the Dark House will be perfectly fine with a 2. So the Dark House resolves. I don't spend any lucky charms, any tokens. The Phantom resolves, moving 1, landing on this Reef and getting rid of that 1. I move 3, picking up another token that I need. We collect our dice, we cycle back to the front, and I'm starting to get a little hopeful. Maybe, I'm not sure that I can make it. I mean, I'm very close to the edge, but out of all the games I've played with full, like all of the expansions in hand, this may be the best that I've done so far, if I'm gonna be honest. Take the token on which the Phantom ends its movement. The Phantom receives the token on which the Nautilion ends its movement. So I could potentially get another 4. That's kind of what I'm going for. So we want to give the Phantom a 1 this turn. And we have a 1 to give it. And I would land on a 3 here. I'd skip a 4. I'd land on a 3. I would gain a 4. Well, let's give that a try. 2 is going to go to the Dark House. I don't discard a Lucky Charm token. The 4 is going to go, well, the 1's going to go here. I'm going to collect that 4 token. I'm going to move 4 forward. The Phantom's going to collect the 3 token. It's going to go into the discard pile. And this is going to move down 1 more time. I get to pull a token back and put it in my reserve. Now I get to roll the dice. 1, 1, and 3. Well, here's the problem. I still have 2 hero cards that I need to complete. So I need to strategize these correctly. Recover a crew token from the discard and place it on the Nautilion board. Recover a crew token from the path and place it on the Nautilion board. But it cannot be the same token that I'm cycling, so I have to change these appropriately. But I could use them. I could kind of run a little tricky here and use them to cycle each other. So I'm allowed to do that. That's what I'm gonna have to do. So I can discard the 4 to collect the 9, which cycles that one. And then on this one, I have to collect something from the path. What makes the most sense to cycle here on the path? It's in front of me. A and B are in front of me. So I will get rid of the B to collect a 4 from the path and place it down here. I then am going to go ahead and assign the dice, giving myself a 3 so that I can collect the 2 up here. I'm going to give the Dark House a 1. I'm going to give the Phantom a 1. The Dark House resolves. I don't lose a token because I didn't give it a 3 or a 4. The Phantom moves forward 1. You can tell this is getting tense. You can tell I'm starting to really focus and get intense here. I hope I haven't messed up any of the rules. I'm starting to really focus because I think I have a chance of pulling out this victory, which would be pretty incredible. I didn't expect to win, and I hope I'm not counting my chickens before they hatch. We'll move down 3 here. I collect that harpoon there. My crew quarters are completely full. I pull these dice back together. I move this down, discard 2 tokens to go ahead and collect 1 from the pool. Oh, and I did resolve this. This is going to go here. And all I have to do now is make it to the Abyss before the Phantom makes it to the Pleasant Isles. Well, of course. Okay. 1, 1, 1. I don't lose a token. Phantom moves forward 1. I move forward 1, adding this to my reserve. Then the Dark House moves down. If the dice I give it is a 2, I must re-roll it. Let's make it to the Abyss. 4. Giving it a 4. Giving it a 2. Oh, and I can do that. Giving it a 3. Let's go ahead and re-roll this dice. 2. That's fine. Doesn't mean I lose a token. 3. Gets rid of the 6 here. And 4. Whew. Let's just double check. I survived the encounter in the middle. I resolved all of my hero actions. I have a full crew quarter and I have a full mage quarter because these other 3 little crew spaces don't count to the victory conditions. I think I did it. Now, I'm sure someone in the comment section will be telling me how I could have min-maxed or where I might have made a slight error that could have probably stopped me from winning, but I will revel in my victory for a moment until I post this video online. But that was cool. I mean, I've played with all 5 expansions on various levels a few different times, and that's the first time I've actually made it the whole way to the end and squeaked out a victory. So I feel pretty good about that. Whatever the case, I hope you've enjoyed this Quackalope gameplay video. Not Tilian is just a fun little individual puzzle to sit down in front of you. I love all of the Omniverse games. I have them all stacked up behind me here, and I'm slowly going through them and creating content for the channel. I even have the newest one currently pre-ordered and hopefully showing up in the mail in the next few days. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's displayed to you exactly how all 5 of these expansions play. There wasn't another video on YouTube that really dove into using all 5 expansions, and so that's the reason I did it. Whatever the case, you know what I'm gonna say. Go do the important thing, which is to play some board games. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time.